Boo! Current events update. Number one, Israel at war, 5/21/25. Still no change in the hostage situation, but the Israeli left continues to serve as apologist for Hamas. And this is an example of an op-ed in the Times of Israel in the war to get back the hostages. In other words, that fool, whoever, I don't care who he is, he trusts Hamas. Well, what's his name? It's a David Horowitz, not Horowitz, who passed away recently. David Horowitz, I have a bridge to sell you. Meanwhile, in the background is everything's setting up for the Gog Magog war. And this, what we're about to see, could trigger the conflict prophesied by the prophet Ezekiel. We don't know exactly what will actually trigger the thing, but we know that the neutral nations like Saudi Arabia will believe that it's just for monetary, financial reasons. And that's involved in every war. But this is a report that U.S. intel indicates Israel is preparing to attack Iran. And why that's leaking out, I can tell you that not everybody who calls themselves MAGA is a Christian. Not everybody who is in the Trump administration is a real supporter of their president. And so those are two main reasons, because you can have Christians who are MAGA, but if they're not dispensational, they're not pro-Israel much of the time. And they could be leaking that stuff out. Intelligence services raised concern in Washington that Israel is preparing to attack nuclear facilities despite Trump's efforts to reach a diplomatic agreement. And there's all kinds of things out there trying to convince everybody that Trump and Netanyahu are becoming enemies and all that kind of thing. There's no substance to it. They only quote unnamed sources. And so it's just something to pray about as we stand with Israel. Amen? In other headlines, you might have seen this, but some of you work for a living. And the guy on the left, your left, is the president of South Africa. And he met in the Oval Office, and it wasn't as nasty as the Zelensky meeting, but it was as dramatic. I don't know if you saw it. But Trump plays videos for South African president. The South African president was trying to blow it off and act like there was no problem with the white farmers being slaughtered and everything. So Trump said, pull the curtain, please. And he showed him this.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South African occupy land. That's who we are. Can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament?
Honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Namaza. Kill the poor, the farmer.
The boer is the white settler, the farmer. Saying, kill the boer.
The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness in Ghana.
Shoot to kill. Namaza. Kill the people. the farmer.
Now, that South African president is sitting there squirming as this is playing on a TV.
To kill Hamas, kill the poor,
There's no problem. Nothing to see here.
the poor, the farmer,
He's making machine gun sounds.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now. I can't guarantee the future.
Yeah, but I mean, you'd understand somebody watching that, especially as it gets shared on Twitter, they freak out. It sounds like a genocidal episode.
Cry babies.
So I'll stop it there. It didn't go on much longer, but that was right in the press conference, the whole world watching. It was live on all kinds of networks. And listen, if he's confronted about people, you know, who don't like the fact he's calling for the killing of the white people and the farmers, crybabies. Okay, let me go on South Africa TV and say, kill all the black South Africans. Kill them all. You know, they wouldn't be saying, oh, anyone complains, a crybaby. You see, all you have to do is turn it on them. When they say something like that about Christians, and the whites in South Africa are a mix, some are Christian, some are not. But it doesn't matter what the race, there should never be allowed to call for the killing of anyone of any race. And there are people out there calling for the killing of Jews and the killing of whites. And then there's a bunch of white people who call for the killing of blacks and the killing of Jews. And it's Jesus said in the last days there'll be nation rising against nation. And that word nation is referring to nationality. Not your, not your country like the United States of America, but your ethnos is the word that's translated there. It's your ethnicity. That's what nationality really means. Your ethnicity is what it is. The word nation is used in other ways now, but that's not the actual original meaning of the word. And then, after watching that, you think everybody in the room is focused on this thing with South Africa and all the white people being killed? The NBC reporter immediately tries to change the subject. He tried to change the subject to the plane.
Mr. President, the Pentagon announced that it would be accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One. Perhaps you were talking about.
Can we have a South Africa question?
He said, here's a better.
You know, you ought to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. This NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you know, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC, because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you.
I love that. I've said this before. My whole life I've wondered, why do the conservatives, some Republicans I know aren't conservatives, but most of the conservatives were Republicans, some were Democrat back in the 80s and 90s at least, and why they never would just go after these fakes, you know, and just call them what they are. And even Trump, to his credit, he's the best at this that I've seen. But I don't understand why they just don't call them out. You know, your party that you are supporting, the Democrat Party, is who you serve. You are not a journalist. You're a propagandist. And you serve the political party, and it should be illegal because it's a unregistered political campaign donation for the entire party, the way you run NBC, ABC, and CBS, and CNN, and so forth. But anyway, it doesn't stop the president from showing more of the evidence of white genocide. As they were talking, he starts showing the news on the internet, different stories. I'll let him tell.
Death, 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 horrible death, death. I don't know.
But you know that
To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws, and this is all. I mean, I'll give these to you.
One of the things I didn't show in that video was he showed this huge procession, and there were 1,000 white crosses representing all the farmers that had been murdered and their land confiscated, and their families killed and everything. And he showed that, and the South African president tried to pretend that that isn't going on, and Trump, he confronted him about Trump confronted the South African president about the law. It's a law confiscating these farms without compensation. They just come in, move you out, and take over. Now put yourself in those shoes. And it's a fact, but he sat right there and lied about it, right there in front of Trump and everything. So, and even the white South Africans accompanying the South African president, he brought some white South Africans that he, I guess, thought they were going to get up there and say, oh, there's no problem. One of them did try to kind of say that, but this guy's a golfer, well-known golfer down there. This is one of the fellas that gave me some information on it. The South African president brought white golfers with him to try to prove there's no systemic persecution of whites in South Africa. Golfer Retief Goosen then tells Trump that his dad's farmer friends have been killed and their farms are constantly being burned. First he said this.
I grew up in an area in South Africa that is a farmland area, Polokwane, and there is some issues up there. Obviously, my dad was a property developer as well as a part-time farmer, and yeah, some of these buddy farmers got killed. The farm is still going. My brothers run it, but it's a constant battle with farms they're trying to burn the farms down to chase you away. So it is a concern to try and make a living as a farmer. And at the end, without farmers, there's no food on the plate.
And then he said this.
Does your family and your brother, do they feel safe on the farm?
They live behind electric fences, try and be at night safe. But it is constant whenever you leave that something could happen.
Look at the president there, the black president from South Africa.
Both of them has been attacked in their houses. My mom's been attacked in her house when she was 80. So it is difficult.
Yeah, his mom, 80 years old, attacked. And so now we see what becomes of it all. We'll see what will be done. But the exposure today was worth the price of admission. Amen. You'd never seen that, even before Biden, but you'd never seen it on Joe Biden. I mean, folks, you had a mentally deranged, brain-damaged president for 4 years who didn't know what was going on around him. The what they call this, the auto pen, that was just part of the control. He just was there. And so it's not that he still bears responsibility, but that's what they're trying to say. Donald Trump is coming to the defense of, he's not coming to the defense of Biden. He's just saying it's a reality that there should be an investigation. This is one of the greatest crimes committed politically against the American people in our history. Another story is another loss for Sodom. Is another example demonstrating that the Marxist and progressive left wants to silence any and all who voice a biblical worldview. The Maine Legislature had censured Representative Laurel Libby. She wasn't allowed to speak, she wasn't allowed to vote, and the Supreme Court revoked that censure. She still can't speak on the floor, but she's allowed to vote. Just imagine that. You're elected to office, and the Democrat, Marxist, the death cult just decides that they don't like what you're saying. She had posted about how unfair it is for men to beat up on girls, really. This is junior high and high school sports and college. And she posted how unfair it was for boys to be able to beat up on girls in sports. That got her silenced by the Democrat death cult.
I told Speaker
This is her.
Pecco, the night that I was censured, we had a meeting prior to that censure, prior to when I stood in front of him in the House chamber. And I ended the meeting telling him, Speaker, you're going to go down in history as the man who silenced a woman for speaking up for girls. And I think it's so critical that those of us in positions, theoretically at least, of power, do speak up for the girls, for those who are having their rights taken away. We shouldn't expect them to do that if we won't.
Now, on the left, there's Riley Gaines. She lost because of that, I can't remember what, the dude swimming against her. And so she had her on. But this is related news also from Riley Gaines on her X account. She said, congratulations to Reese Hogan, the real champion in yesterday's triple jump. This was May 18th. At CIF Southern Section Finals out in California, she set a new PR and school record, but she lost to a dude. The boy standing atop the podium holding up a number 1 is a fraud enabled by, among others, the governor, what's his name, Newsom is what Trump calls him, Newsom. But this is great. When the boy got off the podium, Reese, she assumed her rightful spot as champion, and the crowd erupts with applause. Now, let me turn it down because that might be a little loud, so I don't want to hear. She jumped up on the number 1 spot. I'll mute it there. And sadly, that's great, but it's still in the record books, a dude gets the credit. And these kids, a lot of them have spent their whole life training for these things, and they're being robbed. And so finally, some levity. Did you notice every day for the next 10 days is going to be the same forward and backward? 5, 2, 1, 2, 5. Read it backwards. 5, 2, 1, 2, 5. Tomorrow, 5, 2, 2, 2, 5. Read it backwards. 5, 2, 2, 2, 5. Every day, the 29th. Isn't that good? Some of you are like, it's not a sign of the times or anything like that, but that's just, I thought it was interesting. Yeah, numbers are great. Be informed, pray and act accordingly. All right. Anybody want to make a comment or question before we move on? Anybody? Going once? Oh, Janie?
Off topic of what we're discussing here. Jerry Conley, was he saved by a chance?
Who?
Jerry Conley. He passed away today.
Who's Jerry Conley?
He was a Republican in, I don't know if it was in the House or Senate or something.
Oh, really?
76, he passed away today.
Huh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
What, it just happened here in the last couple of hours?
It happened earlier today.
George Wendt, who played Norm.
Yeah, he passed away too.
Sadly, he was a so Catholic. No profession of faith from him. So, but yeah, I'm trying to think there was somebody else. But everybody, I'm sure he's heard the gospel. I'm sure that.
Democrat, so.
Who was? Oh, Conley? She says he's a Democrat.
Oh, I thought they said he was a Republican. Well, somebody messed up on the news then.
Well, I don't bet on it, but if I were a betting man, I'd say he's in hell right now. A Democrat means he supports murdering unborn children. He supports Sodom. He supports Marxism, or he wouldn't get elected. So it used to be a day I wouldn't say that. Used to be a time I wouldn't say that, but I can say that now.